Hello, hello, hello. I'm so happy to have you here. Well, we're gonna let's wait like a couple of minutes, let people come on. But
Okay.
while we're waiting for people to come on, I like your baseball cap.
Thank you. It has LOP on it, which stands for Love on Purpose. This is a
Ooh,
logo that I used to have when I had this business up. I was a small business called Love on Purpose, and
okay.
basically it was just used to build up confidence and encouragement for people to do whatever they want to do on purpose. Right.
Oh,
I was doing
nice.
a lot of my poetry services and poetry business under that brand. So I used to do a lot of
Right.
writing workshops. Well, I still do writing workshops, but I did it under this brand at the time. Don't have that brand anymore, but I made a lot of merchandise, and this was one of the cute
Love
things
on
I did.
purpose.
So
So, how old were you when you started your first business? Because you look young.
um,
I'm like,
so I'll be 27 November 10th, woo woo Scorpio.
mhm,
So
yes.
I was 20, I want to say 22 when I kind of got that
Oh,
started.
wow.
Maybe 20 when I got that started. Yeah,
Okay,
and they
okay,
really kind of
awesome.
took off like maybe 22. So yeah, around 20
Okay.
when I started that.
Nice. I see
Yes,
people coming on. Say hello as you're coming on
on in the
and let
room,
us know
everybody.
you're here. You're not going to be able to see, I don't think. Well, you might be able to see if people comment. Hello, Jean. How are you? Say hello. So I am so excited.
Hello.
So I have Tammaka here. But later, we're going to be talking about how sex can be a form of resistance. And I'm going to have her explain that. But first, hi, Mira.
Yeah.
But first, introduce yourself. Who are you?
Hey. Well, I want to thank you for letting me come on here and give me this opportunity. Amazing energy, amazing vibe. It's always a beautiful thing when I can connect with other creators, with other healers in the community. So that's a beautiful thing. And happy Pride Month to everybody as well. Woo
Yes.
woo. I am Tammaka Staley. I'm born and raised in Columbia, South Carolina, and I
That
am a sex.
Southern accent. Love it.
Yeah, girls from the South. This is
Yes.
how we do. That's how we do. Yeah, born and raised here. I've been here like all my life. Never really lived anywhere else. Traveled a few places. I've been a sex educator for going on 6 years now. Been a spoken word artist going on maybe 8 years now. So those are my two professions that I dibble back and forth with. So, and I'm in my
Mhm.
sex educator role tonight, but you're gonna see some poetry coming out too a little bit, because writing and words are really, really big for me. So
Yes.
that's one of the things I like to incorporate with sex education. And I'm usually do teens, like teens in my population, 12 to 18-year-olds. But I also do things with young adults, so I'm getting branching more into that. And at some point, I hope to be a certified sex doula and have my own sex education and sex doula business. So just a little bit about me. And I've been doing it. I love what I do. I love working with youth and talking to them about sex and sex education and sex health. Uh, I always tell them like they're my babies because I don't have children and I don't plan on having none. So I can love on them and give them back.
Right.
I that. That's my motto. So yeah, I love it and I look forward to all of your questions today. Having this great conversation. I think it's so important to really talk about sex in a very radical and transparent way. And so that is always my goal in sex is to break down barriers and to unlearn and deconstruct and decolonize our ideas about sex.
Hmm.
It's very,
Yeah.
very important for Black communities to do that. So that's my
Right.
contribution to this conversation today.
Awesome. Awesome. And that's one of my goals. My goals is to, consistently have people coming on to really just be able to have conversations about sex because we're not having it. We don't
Yeah.
have conversations about sex, and it's getting better, but it's still in large part a taboo,
Right.
especially in the Black communities. Like being able to openly talk about sex, or being able to especially like getting into like other stuff like the kink realm of
Oh,
BDSM.
yeah.
That's
Definitely.
like so taboo,
Mhm.
so but it's important because for us to be in a sex positive society and really be empowered, we need to
Yep.
be able to talk about sex, because sex is just it's one of our foundations. It's what where we came from. We are sexual beings, and
Right.
so I happened to find your Instagram page, and I don't know how, but somehow I saw your Instagram page, and I guess probably looking up sex or something, and then
Yeah.
you came up, and I saw like you have a bunch of affirmations on there, and I was like, really cool. I like this. Then I saw you have this thing that's sex as resistance, and I'm like, I gotta have her come on. So I have a question for you. So, I'm always talking about like, because I'm always talking a lot about sexuality and tantra and different things like that. I'm always like, they don't teach sex in school. And so, I see you're a sex educator.
Right.
And, my first question was that, do you teach sex education in the school, in the school system?
Right. So I don't. I've never taught it in school systems, like at an actual school, but I teach all of the students that I do teach, that I have been teaching before the pandemic, and even a group within the pandemic. Like a couple of weeks ago, I did a workshop with a group of teen girls, and they go to the public schools here in Columbia. So it's always that I'm doing workshops with organizations and with groups who do work with students from the school system. So I
Mhm.
do it in their space, but these are students coming from the school.
Why don't
Then,
you do it at the schools?
well, one, I just haven't come in contact with the right people to do that kind of work yet. Like I've done lots of poetry workshops and writing workshops in school systems, but just haven't. And another reason, another part of it, I don't really promote to people who are in school systems.
Mhm.
One, because I'm still trying
Well,
to
because
find a way.
yeah, I would kind of think that, because I'm always talking about in the school systems that you can't teach certain things, right? Like,
Right.
I
Yeah.
talk to, I have a lot of female clients who haven't learned the anatomy. They haven't learned many things. So
Right.
I was wondering if, there was a limitation in terms of working at a school, if
Right.
maybe that's why you don't work at schools or.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure
Mhm.
one reason. And that's why I don't typically advertise my sex ed services to folks who are in school systems, because I know that I will be very limited in what I can teach. And
Mhm.
in South Carolina, there's like legally certain things that they just cannot talk about within sex ed. At least that's what was the last time I did check those laws. Like anything when it comes to same sex relationships or same sex sexuality at all, not talked about like at all. And the
Right,
teachers can't even do it. Like they literally just
right.
can't. And
Right. Let me
my
ask the
students,
people that's. Hold
yeah.
on. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah. No. So those people that are coming on, what do you remember when you were in school and you had sex ed? What were some of the things that you learned? What do you feel like was missing that you didn't learn that you know now? Um, as you're coming on, tell me, because I want to hear from you guys. What you felt like was lacking in your sexual education in school, as Tammaka, right?
Tammaka. Tammaka.
Tammaka.
Yes.
Tammaka is talking. Sorry. So as she's talking, sometimes I get the Brazilian accent when I'm talking.
I,
So yes, so you were saying there's some things, when you last looked in South Carolina and Columbia, there was limitations on what you can teach.
right.
So what are some of the things that you teach that you can't teach in a public school system?
Yeah. And that's the biggest one for me, is talking about sex as it pertains to same sex relationships, to folks who don't live in the gender binary. So people who are a gender or intersex, things of that nature. And I do mention to my students that sex does look can look different outside of just penis vagina sex, right?
Hmm.
And or just outside of missionary, penetration sex, So I
Right.
do like to mention that, because it's important that LGBTQ plus teens have that information. I'm part of the
Hmm.
community, and I know what it's like to be a teen and not have that be expressed, and wonder like, well, what will my sex look like if I'm with a girl that day?
Hmm.
Or what will my sex look like if I want to explore even with myself, because they don't talk about masturbation either in sex ed in schools. Like I said, at least from the last time that I checked. So I
Right.
think it's very important. That's a mission for me to do that, to make sure that I am centering marginalized students and centering marginalized folks. So Black,
Yeah.
queer, and trans folks, Black, cis, and trans women, especially when it comes to
Hmm.
masturbation. There's a lot of Black, cis, and trans women that I know that do not masturbate. They have never masturbated, some of
Right.
them. There's a lot of times because
And I
it's
definitely
so taboo and it's not talked
Yeah, I
about.
definitely want to talk more about masturbation because we got to get into that. I think that is
Yeah.
so important for people to do. We do have a couple of questions here.
Yes.
So there's a question here. in Western society, having binary options is norm. Do you believe that someone is bisexual? And that's a good question because I've heard a lot of people have this debate. Like a lot of people think you're either straight or you're gay. There's how can you be bisexual? So I have my take on that. Let me hear you first, and then I'll share my take.
Okay, so do you believe that someone's? Oh, cuss! I'm bisexual. Hello, you're next. Okay, how you doing? Yes, I identify as bisexual and panromantic, and I do because sex is fluid. It's very much, and I know people say that, so I don't want to just say that and skate past it and not actually break down what that means. Simple as that is that you like what you like. You know, the body on a biological natural front is built on sensation, right? Even with just like a hit on the hand, like I felt that. For some people, that could be bad. For some people, that could be good, right? Doesn't matter, you know, what size my hand is, what it looks like. If I got long nails, short nails, the sensation is what I recognize, you know, and that's kind of
Mhm.
how I like to describe when it comes to sex and sexuality. So for a lot of folks, it's not really about what somebody's genitals look like. It's like if I like
Mhm.
you, I like you. And if you happen to
Right.
have a penis, you have to have a vagina, a combination of both. That's cool, you know. So
Right.
that's exactly why bisexuality can exist. And you know, for me, it's like I've always known that I was attracted to women and men, you know, growing up to
Mhm.
boys and girls. But because I grew up in a Christian household and that just was not accepted and it was frowned upon, I suppressed that feeling
Right.
for a very long time until I was in my early 20s. And my
Wow.
coming out story was like very different. And maybe we'll get into that a little later on. So yeah, it's just like some people, you just like what you like, and it's very fluid.
Mhm.
I think that it's very freeing to actually
Mhm.
accept that about yourself and be that about yourself. But when you know that, you know how you identify and you know how you feel, I think that it's a beautiful thing to express
I
it
think
in
so
that
too.
way. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
especially African people, like we've never been like a monolithic people and in just this one box. We've been playing around with sexuality and gender for years. You know, there are a lot
Right.
of tribes in Africa where the women date each other and are with each
Mhm.
other. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's interesting.
A
Yeah.
lot of them do it for fertility reasons, when they don't want to have children, but they're in same-sex relationships nonetheless, right?
Yeah.
Even in the animal kingdom, in insects, there are same-sex
Mhm.
relationships, you know. So that
Right.
is when people give me questions like that, you know, it's very, I always think it's interesting because I just go back to nature, right? It's like it's
Right.
I think what's unnatural is biphobia,
Yes.
homophobia, transphobia,
Mhm.
right? Not
Yeah.
necessarily the sex attraction. So thank you for that
Right.
question.
I agree with that. That's a great question. And I always say that too. So what I always say to people, sexuality form is along a spectrum, right? Like you have trying to get my hands in it. You have being completely gay at one end of the spectrum,
Right.
and straight at the other end, and you
Yeah.
have this whole line where you
Mm.
have room for all different types of sexuality. So we
Yeah.
can't put anything in a box, you know.
Right.
And I do want to ask you a question because since Cliff is on here, and I know that he has young kids, and there may be
Yeah.
other people on here who have young kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I was interviewing you, you work mostly with middle school children, but you said you also want to start working with toddlers. And I
Yeah.
was like, toddlers, that's kind of
Yeah.
young. Like that's
Yeah.
young to be talking about sex education. But
Yeah.
why do you feel like it's important to start that young, um,
Right.
providing a sex education to people to even toddlers?
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, I mostly do high school, but I do middle and high school. And the reason why I want to start doing toddlers is because they're starting that early with exploring sex. You know, that if not full on intercourse, definitely touching, licking each other, themselves. You know, they're starting that early. Like it's as early as 6 and 7, they're starting to explore themselves and sex in various ways. Even with porn, like they're starting to watch porn that early on. And so it's
Hmm.
important because you want to make sure that they're guided in the right way. And it's not to teach toddlers to have sex. I think I really want to make that clear because that's a big misconception when people hear me say that or hear other sex educators say that they do toddlers, right? It's really to help them to navigate what sexuality will look like as they grow. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So to teach them like at this age, this is what it might look like, and just to teach them that, you know, what is it going to be when you grow. And it's as a way of protection too, to teach them like, you know, these are the levels of ways that you can protect yourself as you start to explore sex once you're of consenting age. It's also
Mhm.
for protection way when it comes to rape and molestation. 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds are being raped and molested in our society and have been for a very long time. And it's unfortunate that we have to prepare our children that way. But it's like if it's a situation where they have to go to court and
Mhm.
testify, forbid that they ever have to, they want to know what a vagina is, what is a scrotum, what is a penis, you know what I'm saying, what are
Mhm.
testicles, things of that nature. So I think of it, in that spectrum. And then lastly, just to teach them autonomy and consent, that's
Mhm.
important. So that way, as they do start to grow up and they start to masturbate, because teens and young people do masturbate, and I think that is, and I'm very for that. I'm very pro masturbation for
Mhm.
teens and children before they are consenting age to have sex with other people if they desire. I really am for masturbation so they can learn what they like in their body, what they don't like,
Yeah.
how far is too far, when to say no, you know what I'm saying, what's
Mhm.
painful, what's not. So they'll be able to communicate that to other people, or even to themselves, so they can have pleasure and a healthy sex life as they grow up.
Right.
Yeah.
So Phil is also a father here. He says that's too early and it's not typical for a 6-year-old to be exposed to porn. So I don't think it's typical, but I think that
No,
there are
it happens.
situations. Huh?
Yeah. I was just
It
saying,
happens.
not maybe not typical, but it definitely is happening. It
Yeah.
definitely is
And
happening for sure.
and I would definitely trust you because this is your field. This is your field. I do know that when I used to work in estates, I knew that a lot of kids, because as I had a psychotherapy private practice, and I worked with a lot of kids, and a lot of kids were telling me that they were starting to have sex at like 12 years old, 11 years old
Mm-hmm.
even,
Yeah,
and a
they are.
lot of them were having anal sex not to get pregnant. And someone had said something about that on
Yeah,
here.
I had a friend that had her
Mez,
first child when I was in 6th grade, and we were 12.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
first
Mez says,
child
I
is
learned
like,
nothing of merit. Sex is how you get STIs. From when we asked the question about what you learned in school, and you can get pregnant, you cannot get pregnant through anal. Oh, and that they let me take the electronic baby home once. So then this is what they're taught in the schools, and so kids aren't not wanting to get pregnant or wanting to maintain their virginity. So then they end up having anal
right.
sex, and it's like really young. So I personally think that it's important for
Right. Yeah.
kids to have this conversation. I don't know, as a toddler, to me that still feels young, but I think in my opinion, I feel like once a kid starts asking questions, I think that you definitely need to at least start answering. And sometimes kids ask really, really early on. I don't know. I don't work in this field, so
Right.
you're the expert on that. But I wanted to touch on that and ask that question because I knew that there's some parents on here, and I know that it's important for kids to get the sexual education. And like what you were saying, also, it's also a form of protection. And when kids know their bodies, they know what's wrong and what's, for someone else to be touching them. Because realistically, honestly,
Yeah.
majority of the girls that are raped or abused is by someone they know. It's by a friend, a family, or family member, or school friend. So the
Yeah.
more education a child has, the more protected they are,
Yeah,
to be
for
able to,
sure. Yeah,
protect
and
themselves.
that's a big thing. It's really a big thing. And as far as like STIs are concerned, STDs, even in schools, like they're teaching that, but it's still not comprehensive. It's kind of just it's more of a scare tactic that they're using in schools. Like they'll show them all these pictures of STDs and how they look, which is important. I do that too in some of my workshops as well. But I don't do that to discourage them from having sex, because studies have shown that just doesn't work. Scare tactics do not work to
It
prevent
doesn't.
teens from having sex.
It doesn't.
Teaching them about how to protect themselves from getting STDs
Hmm.
keeps them safe when they decide to have sex, because they're going to do it. Like it's just
Yeah.
no way for parents to completely stop your children from doing anything.
Yeah. I
And
had
a
one
lot of
lady
stuff is just
who,
coming up. Like when they're on these iPads and they're on stuff, they see things. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
they get curious, and just in the body, when you start getting older and you go through puberty, your hormones are raging. Like
Hmm.
it's a natural thing. So and to encourage them. Oh, but it's just saying, if you decide and when you decide, this is how you can do it to protect yourself.
Right.
From unwanted pregnancies, from STDs, from STIs, and on a
Right.
spiritual front, just from to the best of your ability, trying to get your heart break.
Yes.
Sex
You
it
know,
holds a lot of energy and a lot
it
of
sure
spiritual
does.
emotions that go along with that.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. It's so interesting
Yeah.
because I put out a question in my group on Facebook. I have a group called Tantra and Sacred Sexuality. If you're not in that group and you want to join, please join, or send me a message so I can add you because you can't find the group. It's private. But I had put the message on there
I feel
about
like
how many
you're
people
breaking
had
up.
spoke with their
You're breaking
parents
up on
about.
my end over here a little bit.
Oh, I don't know what's going on with the internet, the sound. Can you hear me? Are you there? I think it's breaking up. Can you guys hear me? I'm always having
You're
technical
breaking up on my
difficulties
end.
for some reason. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Scattery. Little scattery.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Does it sound any better now?
Yes, it sounds a little bit better now.
Does it sound a little
Okay.
better? Okay. Yeah. I just something with me and audio
Yeah,
here.
a little bit better.
So, okay. So I
Uh,
had asked a question in the group about, okay, thank you. Ola says I can hear you. Thank you for letting me know. So, you know, I had asked this group a question on my group in Facebook, Tantra and Sacred Sexuality. How many people have had conversations about sex with their parents? Who talked to them, and a lot of them were like, "No, never had any conversation with my parents either." And one girl was on track to have a scholarship
right.
in college, wanted to become a doctor, never had the conversation with her mom. And she was like, she wrote in the group. She didn't know what this like brown line was on her stomach. And then she found out like after graduation that she was like, not until she was like 4 months pregnant, she found out she was pregnant, and it's like, so I think
Yeah.
a lot of times we do a disservice when we're don't talk to our kids about sex or sex education. I think a lot
Yeah.
of times you think that, oh, if we talk to them about sex, it's going to make them do it. They're gonna do it. So it's like,
Yeah.
talk to them, let them know that they can come and talk to you and
Yeah.
ask questions. Let them know that you're a safe place
Right.
for them to come to and ask
Right.
questions. If they had that connection with you, you know what? And I think even if they masturbate, this is my thing. I feel like if women, especially women, girls, if they masturbate, they're not going to go seek somebody else to please them for pleasure, because they're going to be pleasing themselves and they're going to be like, okay. And then they're not going
Right.
to be so
Right.
quick to jump into something with someone looking for something else. That's my opinion. So I don't know
Yeah.
what Phil is saying. He says yes until it doesn't. I don't know what that part is about. Um, but there was a question that Cliff had for you. Oh, this is a great question. How does an initial conversation with kids sound like? And then he did ask a question earlier about what is it that how do you feel attraction to both men and women? But let's answer this first. How does an initial conversation with kids sound like?
Okay. Right. Okay. Great question. Well, I
Great
tell
question.
parents that the initial conversation is it really just is dependent on what your child is giving you. What kind of energy are you getting off of them? So it can really just be as simple as, are you thinking about sex? Just like a really swift opener to just ask them, are they even thinking about it? Are you thinking about sex? And kind of allow them to guide the conversation from there, because some of them might tell you that they're not, at the time, it might not be something that they're ready for too. Just how like y'all have anxieties and kind of fears about this conversation. Some of them have those same fears and anxieties too about coming into their parents and talking. So that's what I always suggest, is just a swift opener. Just, are you thinking about sex? What are you feeling about it? And kind of let them guide and reassuring them that they can come to you about anything and ask questions. But yeah, I would say just as a starter to just ask that and see what their response is. So you can kind
Hmm.
of gauge if they're ready to open up, because you don't want to push too much, but you want to, just encourage them, like, you can say something to me. So that's
Hmm.
always my advice, is just that swift opener, allow them to guide it, and just reassuring them that you are there for them to
Right.
listen and answer
That's,
things.
I like
For
that. I
sure.
like that. Also, I think what comes to me is, um, how do you think you, mommy and daddy had you? Or like, how did you think you got here? And then see what they
Yeah.
say. And I think
Yeah.
based
That's a
on
great
that,
that's a great
yeah,
question.
based on that answer, what they're saying, then you can kind of gauge their maturity level and um, what they could handle, because you want to make sure you're talking at a level that they can understand and not telling more than they need to know,
Right.
going slow.
Yeah.
So I think that as well, just kind of, how do you think, what did you hear? Because you'll be surprised. They probably heard all kinds
Right.
of things from friends at school and
Yeah.
different things like that. So then that tells you, um, yeah, that's what I typically say.
I
I
like
start
that you
with
brought that
that.
up.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's great because a lot of the stuff that they know about sex is coming from peers, media, music. Which is why there's an activity that I do in one of my workshops that I really harp on music and media to kind of gauge what they're learning about sex because that's what's shaping and molding their ideas about sex. They're getting it from the outside world, so you do want to debunk some of those myths or either confirm some of those things if they're truths and kind of help them differentiate between the two for sure.
Right. And so Cliff says, going back to that question specifically, what qualities in both men and women attract you? And Cliff says, thank you. Very simple.
Oh,
Yeah.
uh, yeah. Well, in women, I really just love like I have more of a romantic attraction to women than I do with guys. I feel just connected spiritually on a level with them more than anything. But I don't know, I just love like curves and just skin and I love tall women, like Amazons, I be like, cause I'm all little, so I be wanting to get a little cradled and things or whatever like that. So I really love that. And I love fierce women, strong and just feisty and kind of like me, but not like me in a way because I'm like really, really intense. So I love the laid back, slow burning, fiery types. Yeah.
Hmm.
And guys is a more of a sexual attraction with me, it's that physical aspect that I'm more attracted to. The necks, the muscles, the harshness. And not to say that women can't have that because they do. I think that masculine and feminine energy exists in both sexes and all sexes and genders. But yeah, it is
Right.
more of a physical sexual attraction with guys. So
Right.
yeah,
Okay. And how was
I'll
that
leave
for
it at that.
you?
I could go into detail.
Right. How was that for you when you realized that you like both sexes? Like, um, because I know it's not easy, because in so many places it's not accepted. So how was it for you when you discovered that and like, and this is one of the questions I asked you too in the interview, like, how was it for you to come out, Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, yeah. It was very easy for me. It wasn't for me. It wasn't a big announcement. And some people it is, and that's necessary. Like, come at you. However you
Mhm.
feel is necessary for you to live in that space and be comfortable with who you are. You do it. Some people feel the need to make a Facebook post. Some people do parties, even to tell their
Mhm.
families and friends. And all of those things are valid. Me, I really didn't really tell anybody. I told one close friend that I have. She's a black trans woman. We've been friends for some years now. I love her to pieces. And we just was having a regular conversation one day, and I was feeling a lot of anxiety and just kind of almost denial a little bit, like,
Mhm.
is this really what I'm feeling? Like, I know, because I've been taught, like, we were taught, like, that isn't right, that
Right.
isn't religious, that isn't acceptable. And so those things play in your mind, you still,
Mhm.
because like I said, I was suppressing that for so long, only choosing to showcase my attraction for boys and men because that's what I was taught was acceptable. So when
Right.
I got to that point where I couldn't really ignore those feelings and those urges anymore, I wanted to, confide in somebody. And so I did with her. We had a conversation, and at the time I was involved with a woman romantically. I had a situation with a woman at the time. We were in love, and I was just like, I gotta talk to somebody about this. So that
Right.
was kind of like my coming out. But other than that, really didn't tell anybody. Nobody else really knows. I mean, not hiding it. I talk about it very candidly online, in person. So a lot of my friends kind of found out just in a random conversation. Like, I'll say a little something that'll pique their ear. Like, tell me what you just said. And I was like,
Right.
yeah. I
So
said
let
shit
me
like this.
ask
I want
you.
my number. And it was like,
Mhm. Let me ask you, for parents who have kids, and what if these parents suspect or think, I wonder if my child is gay, lesbian, or bi?
yeah,
Like,
right.
how would they address that? How do you think they would address that to not so that this child can
Mhm.
feel like they have support and not feel like, oh my God, I'm doing something horrible. I don't know. I'm a sinner. I'm going to hell. Like, how do you think if
Yeah.
parents suspect, like how should they address that?
Well, I think that they should let the child come to them. But I think as a way to open up that conversation, just kind of drop them affirmations to say, I love you in any way. If there's anything you ever want to tell me, let me know. I'm here for open conversation. I You could go the direct approach and say, I've been feeling and thinking, that you may be this way. You can tell me if you are. But I would say only if you're a parent that's really ready to go there and because you may hear something that you're not ready for. So I would say
Hmm.
if you are a parent that's really fully accepting, you can go the direct approach and just ask. Just ask your child. What is their sexuality? What's their sexual identity? But if you are not that, or you don't feel like they may be ready because they may be feeling some pressure for it too, just kind of reassure them, like, if there's anything you ever want to tell me, I'm here. I'm open. You can let me know, and then just let them get to the point to where they come to you with it. So I feel
Hmm.
like either one of those approaches would be good. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, thank you. So again,
Yeah,
thank
because
you
a
guys
lot of
who are coming on. Please feel free to ask questions that you have. So two questions.
yeah.
So Cliff and Phil asked a couple of questions. Okay, so Cliff, do you feel that we are closer to acceptance as a society? And then Phil is asking about trans man and trans woman, and I'm not sure about that question. Phil, can you clarify? Are you asking? I don't. What about the trans man or trans woman? If she's attracted to that or dates that, or I'm not sure because I got lost along the conversation. So, while
Yeah.
Phil is clarifying, Cliff says, "Do you feel that we are closer to acceptance as a society?"
Um, I want to say yes because it's closer than it was, but it's not as close as it should be. So I don't know. I don't think I would not feel completely honest and good about saying closer because it's like if I'm here and I go here, that's closer. But it's like, yeah. So I would say yes.
Hmm.
Just accurately, information wise, historically, what I know about the laws that have changed and certain tolerances that have changed, I would say closer. But it's nowhere near where it should be. I would not
Yeah.
say we're at a point of acceptance. We're at a point of tolerance right now when it comes to
Right.
LGBTQ plus people. And I am always focused about Black folks. So when I talk about LGBT folks, I'm talking about Black people, people of the African diaspora, because
Hmm.
that's my focus. Y'all my people, but just even as a whole, there have been some advances, but
Hmm.
it's really just a tolerance
Right.
for us. It's not like an acceptance. And I think that's very difference between tolerance and acceptance. But yeah,
Yeah.
definitely closer.
Yeah,
I
I
would say
definitely
yes.
think there's a difference. And I know that there's still a lot of killings, unfortunately. There was two trans
Very much
women
so.
that were recently killed, Dominique Fells
Yeah, Raya.
and Raya
Hmm.
something. So and then Tony McDade. So who was a trans man.
Tony McDade, yeah.
Yeah, so there's still a lot, and we don't hear about it unless you're in the community, I guess. Well, we're hearing about it, but unfortunately, there hasn't been so much
Yeah,
focus on that. But they're still being
right,
persecuted, around the world.
right.
And Cliff says, "Are there cultures as an entire
Unfortunately.
country that are truly supportive?" I don't know. I don't know.
From my research and lens, no. There are countries that are than America. Yeah, they had a law where it was illegal to be gay. I don't know if it changed since the last time I checked. Now maybe it's been about a year ago. But yeah, they had a law where it's illegal. There are still folks in some parts of Africa that are being murdered and mutilated if they're found that they're out, that they're LGBTQ of any sort. So I don't think there's anywhere in the world where there's acceptance, which is
Okay.
it's unfortunate, like I said, because especially in this time of resistance and in social justice movements, like all of my work always involves some aspect of social justice because I feel like that's the foundation, especially when it comes to intersectionality. I really don't think that as a Black community we can say Black Lives Matter if they all don't matter. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It just can't exist. And you can't have resistance social justice movement without Black queer and trans folks. You
Right.
can't have social justice movement without Black trans women, for sure.
Right.
Marsha P. Johnson is a part of the reason why we even know what a protest is. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So, yeah.
Right. And I just learned that Black Lives Matter, the hashtag Black Lives Matter, was actually started by 3 queer women, 3 queer Black women. So, you know,
Yes,
even
yes,
that
we
like
queer
was
Black.
behind
Exactly. How
all
ironic,
of this
right?
work that we're doing, you know, to support Black lives, to show that it matters. So, you know, you can't have a resistance without including the queer community, you know. And I do want to get into your sex as resistance to understand more about what that is. So Phil is asking, are you attracted to trans men and trans women? Can you hear me? Oh, my internet. So Phil was asking, are you attracted to trans men or trans women? Did you hear?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh,
for sure. I like what I like. I like what I
like. Awesome. So now what's the difference? Because now there's so many different kind of I want to be more sensitive, and I'm trying to learn more because I'm not part of the community, but I want to be able to be supportive and be in solidarity and be able to help whoever's coming to me. So what is the thing? Because I met recently, I think beginning of the year, I met a man who said he was gender fluid. And I had never met anyone who openly told me they felt gender fluid. And he was going through a process where he was asexual at the time, you know, so no sexual energy, not wanting to be with man or woman. So there's a lot of different things. Then there's a non-gender conforming. What are these different the terminologies? What do they mean? And yeah, because I think a lot of people, when you're, especially if you're just straight, you don't hear about the, you know, the different, there's so many different types of genders. I think I even read there's 72 types of genders. I don't know if that was correct or not, but I think I heard that.
Yeah.
Could you hear me? I think the
It's
internet's
very
going out. Yeah.
I did gender fluid. It's really just people who they don't feel just in one set gender all the time. So maybe some days they may feel more masculine and more like a man. Some days they may feel more like a woman. Some days they may feel a little bit in between, right? And so it kind of fluctuates. And it's all these various identities at once. And they just fluctuate depending on the day, sometimes the situation, the season, and that can be expressed through their like clothing. That could be expressed through their roles. It just depends on the person. But that's kind of what gender fluid is. Gender non-conforming is just people who don't conform to traditional gender roles. Like in a lot of ways, I'm gender non-conforming. You know, I don't do strictly what women are supposed to do all the time. You know, especially as far as dress. Got short hair. It was lower than this, damn near bald. But when we was out in the streets and I could get a haircut, you know, and some days I'm more mask presenting and I dress up more masculine, you know. So that doesn't necessarily. I don't not identify as a woman. I'm a cisgender woman, but there are days where I don't conform to those traditional cisgender woman roles, right? So that's how I describe the difference. And then there's like the difference between your gender and gender expression. Like you can be a man and like the person who told you they were gender fluid, they just may dress differently than what a quote unquote man is supposed to dress, or their roles may just change. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not a man, you know. Anymore. Right. It could mean that, but it doesn't necessarily mean that, you know. They could just express it differently in their clothing and their accessories, you know. That doesn't, just because a person dresses a certain way doesn't mean that their gender is changed or different. You know, you have that's why it's important to ask. You can't tell what somebody's gender is by the way they dress, by the way they talk and walk. You can assume, and you might be right, but that doesn't mean that they are that gender. You know, you just gotta ask, and that's why I love to ask people's pronouns as well. And I also, let me ask you yours now, since we didn't do that at the beginning. What are your pronouns?
Yeah, so Renee? You know, so yeah, I don't know. Like I've heard, so I have clients that I work with. I have a couple who they'll introduce themselves and say she, her, or I've heard somebody say they. So I don't know. I guess she, her.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you were talking, it was
All right.
interesting. I
Well,
was
she
like,
is.
huh? Yeah. So when you were
Oh, I was
talking, I don't know.
just saying,
I don't know
she, her
if
is,
you're
and mine's a
talking.
she, they. We can use either.
Okay, I can't hear you. I think the internet's messing up. But when you
Uh,
were saying, when you were describing non-gender conforming, I was like, well, maybe that's me. Maybe I'm non-gender conforming. Because when I was in college, I was always dressed like a boy, like pants, sneakers. I'm wearing a baseball cap with my hair braided. Like I wasn't doing my hair. I was not. I was complete opposite of
right.
girly. Now I'm doing a little bit more because I feel it more now.
Right.
But there's some times where I'm just like, you know. So,
Right.
so we
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
question. Clifford says, "By the way, you're beautiful and appreciate your lesson." And then he asked, and I hope you're hearing me because I think the internet is going in and out. Oh, so sorry. Has the church completely wiped out pagan values?
Has the church completely wiped out pagan value? I cannot answer that question because I ain't in the church, baby. But I would assume so. The stage in the sex ed rooms are my church, and the kink chat rooms are my church.
Right.
I can't, so I can't fully answer that question. That's not my lane, but I would assume that they, well, actually, no, because I mean, a lot of Christians still celebrate Easter. My mom still celebrate Easter. That's pagan. So I'm going to say probably not. They haven't wiped them all out.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
going to be
I
my
don't
answer.
know. I
They
know
ain't
that there
lying.
are.
That's not my
Mhm. Yeah, I know that there's some pagan values that yeah, but I wouldn't even know either because I haven't been to church. I don't follow anything that has to do with church or anything, you know. And
me.
I don't really follow a
Me.
lot of pagan values either. So that's a great question though. I do know that
Yeah.
what I would
Same.
say is the church predominantly has a sole purpose of dominating and controlling, and it's patriarchal. So what the church has done
Yeah.
has wiped out the indigenous, the African culture. Like they stripped us of our religion. Actually, they beat it out of us, and they made us
Right.
feel bad about our natural
Yeah.
religion, and they made us perform and accept their religion. Saying we have a white God, a white Jesus Christ. And it's a male, and that you
Yeah.
have to do this. And then I think everything that they've taught us has been to dominate and control. They have completely wiped out sexuality because
Yeah.
sexuality is the strongest, most powerful energy there is. And so they cannot control us without repressing that energy. So I
Yeah.
will talk about that, you know. So that's what I feel
Right.
like has been a big thing that the church has done. And I had a woman that was on another live, Malayo.
Yeah.
It was awesome. One of the things that she said, and I can't say it exactly the way she said it, but it was great. And it was like, she talked about, Phil says, stop, Renee. The church, she talked about how, when you're born, you have a mother and a father. What creates life? Mother and a father. It takes a male and a female energy, a sperm and an egg to come together and create life. That's masculine and feminine energies. So how can it be just the masculine energy, God, that created all of this? Like, it just makes no sense when you're looking at creativity, creation. So at least you need a God
Right.
and a goddess to create this world and to create everything.
Right.
So even just that premise of just having a God is also negating the female energy, is negating and very much showing how much of a patriarchal society
Yeah.
this is that we live in. So like, why would you, for me,
Right.
like how can I conform to something that just doesn't make sense to me? Like when you really start thinking about it, so there's a whole bunch of other religions that have the gods and
Yeah.
goddesses. So to me, that makes more sense, especially after hearing that. Like I was like, wow,
Right.
that makes sense. That makes sense. you know? And it's like
Yeah, Oshun be
they do
guiding
this.
us. Oshun be guiding us.
Oshun, yes. I love me some Oshun, some Iyansan, Imanjab at the beach,
Mhm.
water energy. So, and that's the thing. They
Yes.
especially stripped away the African religions. My family's from Haiti and I grew up hearing voodoo is evil, voodoo is wrong. But that is the whole mindset to
Mhm.
dominate and control us and not have us
Right. Yeah.
connected to what is us, what is ours, going back to the original African religion, our African roots,
Right.
and gestate conforming
Right.
to their idea of Christianity. So for me, and then when I lived in Brazil, we're not supposed to be talking about religion, but one last thing,
Right.
being here in Brazil, they would talk about how the slaves were in the bottom of the churches, beaten in the churches. They would have the slaves and they would beat them, So it was like, why would, and I'm sure this happened in the States too. So, like, why would I go support and give tithe and support this
Yeah.
church where they had us beaten and, couldn't even worship with them? And they beat our religion out of us. No. Okay, so let's get out of this.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Phil says,
Yeah.
because I do want to get to you.
That was great though. That was great. I was on
Thank
it.
you. Yeah. Um, so Phil says humans are
Yeah.
always finding ways to differentiate into small and smaller subgroups. So tell us about sex as resistance. How is sex a form of resistance? And I think that this is important for people to hear now with all of this stuff going on, you know, um, where we're at right now. So
Right.
how do you see sex as a form of resistance? And you can answer what Phil said too. Respond to that if you
Right.
wish. And then we go right into that.
Okay. Sure. Yeah. So for me, sex is act. Said it again.
No, no, no. Go ahead. I just you could go ahead and respond.
Okay, I got you. I got you. So, yeah, sex is acts of resistance, and for me, that simply exists on the way sex is the way that we use sex as a tool for well-being and wellness, right? And I think that wellness is at the core of us being able to resist, right?
Mhm.
And these actual resistance movements when we're fighting, when we're protesting, when we're sending out legislation, when we're really trying to break down all of these systems of oppression to reach freedom, right? And even in sex of itself, in itself, is an act of resistance for Black folks, especially for Black queer folks. Our very queer bodies and existing in a sexual space is resistance because we've been told for so long that it was not worthy, it was not desirable, it was not good enough, and that we should not seek pleasure with each other in our queer bodies, and so that's just like the biggest fuck you to white supremacy in and of itself is to love on ourselves, to love on each other in that way, and then on a physical, like biological front, that it's healing. It cures pains. It is masturbation, or we know orgasms cure headaches and body aches. If you have migraines or deal with cramps during a certain time, having an orgasm literally can soothe and relax some of those chronic pains, right? And you have to be, and even on a spiritual level, like sex has been known to kind of decompress our stress level, decompress a lot of tension that we have in our minds, on our emotional sense. And you have to be well in order to continue to fight these fights, right? And anytime that you find a way to love on your Black body, especially if you're a non-thin person, non-thin bodies have been told forever that they are not worthy and desirable, especially if you're a darker skinned person and you seek pleasure and find yourself to be sexy and confident, just existing in that space and having that love for yourself, that builds so much encouragement and self-confidence, right? And that is literally healing. That keeps us thriving and alive when we find that joy in ourselves, knowing that the world doesn't want us to find that joy, knowing that the world doesn't want us to feel sexy and touch ourselves and show our bodies. That builds so much love, and that keeps you going, right? There's no bigger act of resistance when you are bold and full in your Black body, to do that. So yeah, on a physical front, actually curing pain and healing yourself from tensions, so you can be well enough to fight the good fight. Having that self care, that's one
Mhm.
part, and then just on a self motivation and self love front, to exist in your Black body, to exist in your Black fat body, to exist in your Black queer body, is so revolutionary because it's been taboo. It's been literally told you can't do that on a legal front. Like like I said, in some countries it's illegal to show affection to the same sex, so just imagine like existing in a space where you're gonna boldly do that anyway, knowing that you're gonna be prosecuted, know that you're gonna be looked at a certain way, know that you might even lose your job, and so the fact that you can exist in that way, and just to love yourself or love your partner, that says everything. That's a very bold statement to make, and to
Yes.
fight for that, to know that I'm willing to stand on being loved and loving myself. So
Yes.
yeah, for sure.
Exactly. Beautiful. I want to touch on one
And
thing.
I
Go ahead.
also want, I don't know okay, you go.
No, I want to touch on one thing real quick. Completely off topic. But it's just eating at me and I have to comment on this. So I noticed Phil having his as his profile picture, I can't breathe. Now, one of the things I have an issue with that repeating I can't breathe. It's like um words have power. Words have a lot of
Yeah,
power. And so I think that us as a community, we have to stop saying I can't breathe. It's almost like putting a spell on us, you know? It's like bringing power to that
mm-hmm.
and it's holding us back. So I think that we need to change that around and using that we can breathe as resistance, right? Like we can use sex as resistance, using breathing as resistance, and stop saying I can't breathe. I can
Yeah,
breathe. I'm alive. More and more that we're saying that.
yeah,
Hello Mello says yes. More and more that we're saying that as a people, as a community, that's going to hold us down. That's going to hold us back and
right.
keep us where we are.
Yeah,
So we can't keep
yeah,
repeating that,
yeah. That's a
chanting.
change.
You know,
Yeah, we're manifesting the universe when you say that. I agree for sure.
mhm. Yeah. So, Phil, I don't know if you believe, agree or not, but that's just, that's my 2 cents. I would not have that up, especially as a black man. Like, I feel like that's bringing that energy to you. And I feel like words are powerful, which is why mantras exist. You have so many different religions where they use mantras, they use songs for healing, to connect with the earth, with the energies. So there's a certain vibration. So I would not personally be saying, I would just be saying I can breathe. We can breathe as a society, and going into that. So I just had to mention that. Phil also says I masturbate 3 times a day and still get headaches. What am I doing wrong?
Well, I mean, everybody's body is different, so it may not work for you. That's all I can say. But masturbation has been known to soothe some headache pains and tension. But I also wanted to mention, as far as sex as an act of resistance, even on a social justice front, there have been movements in our history that have created literal change on wars and policies due to sex. In the 1600s, the Native
Mhm.
American Iroquois tribe, and please correct my pronunciation if it's wrong. They conducted a sex strike, right, and
Mhm.
literally stopped their men from going to war because of sex. And though I have my own personal ideas about sex strikes, I personally don't believe in a sex strike for myself, but it just goes to show you how powerful it really is. In Liberia in 2003, it was a sex strike there, and there were some great changes, in that region of the world. So it's a powerful thing to just take control and say, I'm gonna manifest the change that I want to see, simply
Yes.
by engaging in sex, using sex as a power tool, right? And
Yes.
as far as for women, that's a huge act of resistance, because black women have been told that we're not sexual beings outside of having a baby. We're not
Right.
sexual beings outside of marriage, or one-dimensional type of marriages, let alone plural marriage or polygamy or polyamory or polyandry. That's definitely frowned upon for us. So, in
Mhm.
any time that you can stand firm and say as a way to create the changes that you see fit, regardless of what the world says, that's revolutionary. That's
Right.
revolutionary,
Let me
folks.
let me let me go back and answer Phil's question as well. I know you answered it. Um, he says that he masturbates masturbate 3 times a day, still gets a headache. So there's a difference, right? First, orgasm really heals a lot of things. So one of the things with men, You can masturbate and you're ejaculating, but you're not having the orgasm. So a lot of times I teach men how to separate orgasm from ejaculation
Right. Yeah.
and the orgasm itself. So if you're not having multiple orgasms, maybe you're not releasing the hormones, the endorphins, the things that you need to help heal you with the headache. Or maybe there's other things going on. Maybe, you know, you're
Right.
causing your wife stress and then she's yelling at you and that gives you a headache. I know, Phil. So, um, you know, it could be many, many different things, but seriously, um, you have to look at that as well. Like, are you having orgasms? Because orgasms has been proven fact that it does relieve, it increases the oxytocin levels, releases any pain, increases a lot of endorphins. So you're just going to be feeling good, and you shouldn't be having pain. I've done headaches and things like that. I've done massages on women who had fibromyalgia, and it's helped them releasing the pain that they have from fibromyalgia. So
Yeah.
that's my 2 cents on your question about that as well. So looking at that, looking at how you're masturbating, are you consciously masturbating? That makes a difference as well. So I try
Right.
to teach a lot about being conscious and aware of
It does.
whatever you're doing, whatever type of sex act that you're doing, and you can see a huge difference in that. So you
Right. Yeah.
have,
It has to be very intentional.
yeah, it has, yeah. Um, so Phil says polyamorous. What's your question about polyamorous? So you have a game. Tell us what's the board? You had a board up. What's
Yeah. What
that?
is it, Phil?
Yeah, what is your question about
Yeah.
polyamorous?
Yeah. So
Mhm.
before we wrap up, I would like for all of us to create a sex formation. And this is something I always end my workshops with my teens, or with young adults when I do workshops with adults. Oh, am I doing this right? Y'all see that? Or maybe I need to come this way. Yeah, like that. So this is something that I like to do because a big part of having a healthy and safe sex life and understanding your sexuality, understanding your body is to speak life into it and to encourage it and hype yourself up, right? And so I do that through sex formation. So it's a sex affirmation. And so it says I am, and then you put an adjective or noun, whatever adjective noun that you want to put. And then it says I am blank, adjective or noun, and I am capable of blank, right? And then that's a verb. So whatever adjective noun, I am blank and I'm capable of blank. So that's the sex formation. It's important to speak life into yourself, to pour into yourself, to kind of dispel all of the negative things that you probably heard about your body, about your sexuality, about yourself. As Black folks, it is important that we continue to do that. As Black queer folks, especially Black queer teens, it's really important to denounce the myths and the delusions that white supremacy has conditioned us by, because they are delusions. And the feeling that we feel when we hear negative things about us and about our skin and about our body, the feeling is valid, but it's not real.
So real quick,
I love to say that it's valid, but it's not real. So.
Mm-hmm. So let's have everybody fill in what she said. Type it in so I can hear what you're feeling, what you're completing in. So Clifford says, "Love you, Renee. Gotta run." And then Phil says, "Nah, just shooting my shot." Maybe he's trying to see polyamorous so he can be with you too. Can you repeat those again? I am. Can you repeat them in the blank? So we want you to complete that. Write it down so we can hear what you have to say. I
Gotcha.
am
So
blank
I
and
am
what?
blank, and you're gonna put an adjective. I am blank. You're gonna just pick an adjective or a noun. So I am whatever your adjective and noun is. It could be anything. I am blank, and I am capable of blank, and that blank is gonna be a verb. So whatever verb you want to put in the after capable. So I am blank. I am beautiful, and I am capable of healing. That's a verb. So whatever adjective and noun and whatever
That's,
verb.
I actually put
Blank and I'm
beautiful.
capable
You
of
took
blank.
my word.
And it doesn't have to be a single
I'm
word.
writing it
It could be
down.
a phrase. want to play, if you want to play around with it and you want to be a phrase, you can. I just put adjective, noun, and verb because it was just a simple way to get this information out, just to not to make it too complicated. But if you want to jazz it up and make it a phrase, you can do that. You know, I am blank and I am capable of blank. Speak life into you. What is it that you are capable of? What is it that you feel about yourself? And be very honest and transparent and intentional about those words that you're putting in. You know, you're speaking it. I believe that what you speak, you become. What you speak, you manifest. So, because the universe be listening, man. Be listening.
Yes. All right. So people fill those in. I want to see what you have to say. Fill in I am capable of. Write it down. If you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, write it down. I want to see who's out there, what you're feeling, and what you're capable of, who you are. I want to know you. Write it down. So
yes, write it down.
I'll share what I put while we're waiting for people to write. I put I am powerful. I am capable of soaring, like soaring high, you know, achieving all of my goals.
Yeah.
So that's what I put.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love soaring. I love that.
Yes.
I share, and I always like to affirm. So if you're near somebody, or if you just want to do a little hand clap emoji or something in the comments to affirm after everybody says their sex formation, that would be dope. We could feel the energy. So I'm gonna affirm you, Renee. Thank you for your sex formation. That was beautiful.
Yes, thank you.
And I'll give one too.
Okay.
So I am sexy and I am capable of healing. So,
yes.
I am sexy and capable of healing.
Ashe.
Ashe to that.
Yes. All right. So come on, let's see. I want people to write. No, ain't nobody writing yet. Right? I am blank. I am capable of blank. So while people are writing, share with us how. Okay, Hello Mela wrote, "I am strong. I am capable of healing." Ashe.
Nice.
Yes.
Ashe.
Ashe.
She's gonna affirm you. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So polyamory. Well, I would really love to know. I would really love a more specific question, but I'll give a little tidbit.
No, I think that was his question. He said after that. He said shooting his shot. So I think he was asking if you're polyamorous.
Oh yeah, I am. Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
So yes, the answer to that is yes.
Okay. So why don't you all right, so yeah. Was she too far away from you, Phil? Anyway, so tell people while people are writing.
He's showing out on this live.
I'm sorry?
Phil's showing out on this live.
Phil always showing out.
Phil's showing out on this live, I see.
He is always showing out. All right, so tell us how people can find you. If they're interested in learning more about you, learning more about your sexist resistance or taking part of your sexist resistance program, let us know.
Yes, you can follow me on Facebook at Tammaka Staley, spelled how my name is here, Tammaka Staley. Instagram is at Tammaka Staley as well. And I am currently offering 2 sex ed workshops for sex as an act of resistance, 2 free ones, either by a Black-led organization, a Black person who has a group of teens or adults. So I'm only offering 2. So if I get somebody to book me for a teen group, then I'll do the sex as an act of resistance workshop with that group. If someone wants to book me for an adult group, I'll do a sex as an act of resistance for adults. And once I've reached the 2, then I'll close the offer. So I'm offering it from now until July 5th, I want to say. I have the flyer. It's on my Instagram and on my Facebook, so you can go there and look at the dates. So if you have a group of teens or a group of adults and you are a Black person, you don't have to be a part of an organization. It could just be you individually want to get a group of your friends together, a group of your kids together. But as long as you're a Black person, you can take advantage of these 2 free workshops. And you can email me at booktamakastaley@gmail.com to schedule with me the day and time. But definitely look at the flyer too, because I'm only offering it between Wednesday and Saturday, I believe, from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. from now until July 4th, I believe, 4th or 3rd. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
definitely just
That's
and
awesome.
all the information is on that flyer. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and if you
Okay,
want to
so
just
Phil
book
filled
other
out.
stuff, like I do other types of workshops. Yeah.
Mhm. So Phil says, I am creative and am capable
I
of
am creative.
creating. Capable of creating. Ashe. So let's affirm that.
Yes, affirm.
Yes.
Thank you, Phil.
So so those who are just coming on,
Thank you.
they
Find me.
the internet is so bad. I think we end up like talking over each other. The can't really hear. It's going in and out. So those who are coming on, we were doing an exercise, having fun, saying I am blank and I am capable of blank. So fill it out. Phil says he will always support me with my picture in his freezer. um, but Phil said, nah, I was talking about masturbation. So, Phil, I love you. Thank you for always supporting me. Still change your thing from I can't breathe. But I saw you said not if you internalize it, but that's just my so he says he was talking about masturbation. I don't know. I'm lost now because I don't know when he was talking about that, if that was in reference to the
Yeah.
polyamorous or not. I don't
I'm
know.
not sure. I'm not sure.
Phil, you've been drinking.
Right. I've been drinking. I'm gonna give me a little drinky drink once we get off here. I got some Merlot waiting for
Ooh, I
me.
love some Merlot.
Love some
I miss
Merlot.
some Merlot. And some white Merlot too.
Yes.
Yes. All right.
Yeah, I've had white Merlot, but I love the red. I love red and dry. It's so good.
Yeah.
So
Mm. So, yes. So also, if you have not subscribed to my channel, go to my YouTube. If you're watching me on Facebook, go to my YouTube and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Renee Adolphe, Renee Adolphe, or Prandata Prim. Listen, I just finished the Sacred Kink Retreat, and that was great. They want to do another one, so I'm in the planning stages right now of offering another Sacred Kink Retreat. We're going to be getting into the kink and BDSM, and I'm also planning Goddess Rise Up.
yes.
Retreat for women. Sekou. Phil, are you calling Sekou on here? Hey, Sekou, you're at the end. So Phil says this is too mature for you, bro. Anyway,
And
and we're
there
oh,
are sex educators. Yeah, there are sex educators. There are sex educators that do BDSM teachings with young folks as well, as a way to teach consent. So
wow,
yeah, it's
really?
really interesting. I'm not haven't gotten into that work just yet. I'm looking forward to some training on how to approach that topic with young people. But yeah, I do know I've I've heard of some sex workers and seen some sex educators, some sex workers too that do BDSM talking with young people. It's really interesting. It's really interesting how they do it.
Right.
So
Wow.
we
Wow.
out here in
Well,
the streets doing it all.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I was kind of shocked when I just heard that just now, but it makes sense. Like, so I remember when I was young, my dad said to me that I'm sadistic and masochistic. I must have been like, I don't know, 13 years old. So maybe that would have
You
been a
know what?
time for
I
my
think I
dad
might
to
accept that as
explain
a compliment.
GSM. I don't know if you
I
said
accept that
anything.
as a compliment, actually.
Right, I do now. Well, Well, at that time, I didn't even know
I
what
said I
you
might
meant.
accept that as a compliment.
Right. Well, I didn't know what it meant. I do accept that as a compliment. So, because I just did this retreat, and I was like, "Whoa, I am a dom. Like I can see myself as a switch, but yeah, I can be a switch, but I'm more of a dom." And I was like, I was having fun. We were doing the role plays.
Yeah,
I was like,
I'm definitely a
oh,
switch.
yeah. So that's cool.
I'm
Hey,
definitely a
Sekou.
switch and a brat. I'm a switch and a brat.
And a what?
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, yeah. So we had a great time. It's an hour and 10 minutes. We've been
Yes.
talking. So this has been really good. So thank you guys for coming on, for watching, for your questions. If you can't, if you came in late, please go back and watch the replay. Go back and watch it from the beginning. Share this video because I think it was some really good information. So share it with your friends,
Yeah.
family. So I think it's really good because if you got a lot out of this, someone else is going to get a lot out of this. And I think that people need to start having these conversations and listening to these conversations. Go support Tammaka at Tammaka Staley on Facebook or Instagram. Follow her, give her a like. Great information. This is awesome. I'm so happy. I'm thankful that you were able to come on here because
Yes.
sex is definitely a resistance. So yes, yes, yes. All right. Well, you have a wonderful night. Again, thank you guys for coming on. Thank you for playing with
Thank you
us.
so much, Renee.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. All right. Anything you
Thank
want to say
you.
closing
I
out?
appreciate it. Thank y'all for joining.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining. Definitely continue to follow me. Continue to support Renee. I am available for bookings at all times. So definitely just reach out. Soon I will be offering some one-on-one coaching sessions with couples
Awesome.
and individuals. Once I go through a certain type of training. So just be on the lookout for that by the end of this year, maybe early next year.
Yes.
And I will see y'all soon.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm so excited because by the time you hit my age, you're gonna be doing the damn thing. Because I started late, so like you starting now, I think it's gonna be
Hello.
amazing. I'm gonna be following you for a while.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All
Thank
right, well
you so much, y'all. I
you
appreciate that.
you're welcome. You guys have a great night. Thank you for joining. Subscribe to my YouTube if you haven't. Don't forget to share this. Stay cool. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're
Yes.
still there because I know you didn't subscribe. Go to YouTube right now and put in Renee.
Right.
Yes, put in my name. You know how to spell my name and hit that subscribe button. I want to get that notification saying that you subscribed. And then hit the notification bell so that you can know when my lives are coming out. All right, guys. Love you. Have a great night. Bye.
Later. Bye bye.
Bye.